Just a second. Cardinals game's over, and we actually won a game, so that's a miracle.
Nice. We've been doing good here in Atlanta, so.
Oh, you guys are rocking. Oh,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, triple play yesterday, I think.
Oh, yeah. I'm
I
a
mean,
little nervous for Monday. My wife and I are actually going to that game because it's a Harry Potter themed game,
uh-huh.
but we're also playing Los Angeles, so now we got Otani coming. I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be a good game, but now I don't know who's gonna win at this point.
You could just see Otani. He is
Oh my gosh,
unbelievable. I mean, so it was
29 years old.
yeah,
Oh,
it was hard to get tickets? I mean, I'd imagine he sells out
we
wherever he
bought
goes,
the tickets literally the day they went on sale.
especially with a good team. Like, I mean, going to Atlanta, you got a team that's going to win, obviously going to win the division, going to the postseason. Then you got Otani on top of that. Yeah,
Right.
I'm sure that game will be on MLB Network. I
Oh
have
man.
MLB Network on in the studio all the time. I'm just waiting to see because it's a trade deadline and we're gonna be trading half of our team. So I'm just waiting to see, okay, who's hugging who, and
That's right.
I know who's probably going, but I just don't want any surprises. Like, you don't want to see it of your favorites. Like, oh my god, they were not going to, but who knows? This year, so bad, anybody could go. So
no, we understand here because man, when we won the championship and then they got rid of Freeman, and we're all like, "Are you kidding me?"
I know. And he's like the best, nicest guy. Like, I hope we don't get rid of Goldschmidt, but I could see the justification for it because he's getting older. You could probably get value for him. He's like on the backside, but he's such a good guy. It's like a Freeman situation, right? I mean, like my heart says no, but my brain could see why if you got a really, really good offer.
Right.
Don't do it.
Right.
Please don't do it. Don't do it. All right. Okay. So hello, Margie and Herschel. I miss you guys too. Okay, so we are getting ready to record Philip down south of Atlanta. We're recording for Monday's podcast. We got a lot to talk about. So pop up the notes, close Twitter because that's never good to have open during a show. And we'll get cracking. Here we go. 2328. Here we go. Welcome to episode 2328 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Monday to you. Hope you had a great weekend, and we are so glad that you are back here safe and sound to kick off another great week. And let's make a pledge. Let's all get together and say this is going to be a great week, and let's go one step further. Make today's day awesome for somebody around you, somebody in your family, maybe a coworker, maybe just somebody that you see in the drive-through line at McDonald's. Hook them up. Let's do it today. Make somebody's day awesome, and maybe that'll come back 10 times to you later on this week. We can all do that. That'd be pretty cool as a podcast community. So let's see if we can make that happen today. And let's get it going today as we do here with a fun trip report. Gonna have a good time heading down just south of Atlanta, where they have a baseball team slightly better than the one in my area this year. Hurts me to say that because some years it's the other way around. This year, not so much. We're going to be talking with my good friend Philip. Philip, how you doing today? Happy Monday.
Happy Monday-ish.
It's all mirage here. Everybody knows that it's actually Wednesday night, but hey, it's Monday as you're listening. So how's it going? I mean, hot Atlanta.
Doing wonderful, but yes, hot, sweaty.
That's how it always is this time of year. So I'm excited because we got a lot to talk about, man. A lot of first-time experiences, a lot of discussions I want to have just about your fandom with Disney. But one thing I want to talk about is you are actually friends with a famous podcaster's significant other, which I think is pretty cool. And that would be the famous Ricky Niblett. You're friends with Brian, her husband. So that's pretty neat. So you work in the same industry, correct?
We do, yes. We both work for Hyatt here in Atlanta. Super awesome fellow. Once we both found out we were Disney fans, like it just took off. We talk about Disney almost every day because we both never get tired of it. It's just a joy. It's something we love. And I really do feel like the community for Disney, for people who really love Disney, it's so fun to meet those type of people and find out, why do you like Disney? What brings you to them? Time and time again, year after year. So yeah, it's been a fun ride with Brian.
I do got to say, I mean, we talk about Brian in passing here and there on the show, but Brian is one of the nicest guys I've truly ever met in my life. Always has a positive attitude,
Oh
always
man, yeah.
picking you up, and he's one of the like undercover funniest guys I've ever met. Just like he's got a like a sense of humor that's just like it's not like out like blatantly out there, but he just
Right.
cracks me up every time I'm around him.
Right, yeah, because you listen to it, and all of a sudden, once your mind clicks, you're like, "Oh, that's" it kinda hits you in a way, you're like, "Oh, man, that's hysterical."
It is. It is. I'm telling you, when you get to meet Brian, he's a great guy. So I just want to put that out there. All right. So and new dad too. Awesome. So that's really good. I'm sure he's not sleeping much right now. So
Right,
hang in there. Hang in there. As Darius Rucker says in that one song, it won't be like this for long. I'm just telling you. And don't listen to that song, Brian. It'll tear you
that's
up. It
right.
still tears me up. And my youngest is 15. I'm like, God, he speaks the truth, man. They grow up fast.
Right.
Okay. So anyway, let's talk about your Disney history because we kind of talked about this before we hit the record button, and I just like, oh God, we gotta stop because this is good stuff for the show because you were hitting so many points because of your circumstance. But before we even get into that, how did this all start for you? Like, did you grow up kind of a Disney Channel person, or did you go to Disney as a kid? Like, how did this all get going for you?
So, I did grow up as a Disney Channel kid. I never went as a kid, though. I grew up in a pretty, the home I grew up in, my parents didn't make a lot of money, but they did a lot, to make sure my brother and I were taken care of. I didn't go to Disney until I think I was 21 was the first time I went, and I went with just a group of friends thinking, "Oh, yeah, it'll be something fun," but there was just something about that place. It's like once you get to the ferry boat at Magic Kingdom, and when you first kinda get that little glimpse of the castle, like, it just sends getting chills talking about it.
Yeah.
It literally just sends chills. You're like, "Oh, wow, how cool." But once you actually go across, the lake and you walk in the first time, and then you don't see the castle anymore because you see the big train station, and you walk underneath. And I didn't know it was designed this way until years later. Obviously, after doing a lot of research on Disney, you walk in, you still don't see the castle. You see this beautiful, like times past downtown area, and I didn't know what it was called at the time. I'm like, "Oh, this is really neat," it smells like popcorn and a lot of smiling faces, and when you turn that corner and see the castle, it's just like instant goosebumps, and it just feels like magic. I mean, that's literally the best way to describe it. I know it sounds extremely cliche, but it really feels that way, and that grew my passion for it, and I went at least once a year for the next 3 years, then following at least twice, then following at least 3. Now I'm up to 4 to 6 times a year at this point, we always go. Um, and then my wife that I met, she got to grow up going to Disney, so now I have someone that we can enjoy going together, which is great.
Oh, that's a good story. I love the way you described that though, because I was in kind of a similar circumstance where I only went for a half a day to the Magic Kingdom in fifth grade. That was it. And I didn't go back till I was about the same age.
Mhm.
And I think that we all kind of discover Walt Disney World in that same fashion, right? We might be, I was mesmerized with like the logistics of the place the first time I
Oh,
went. I
man,
was like,
yeah.
the road signs here are like they're purple. Like I mean, they used to be, now they're kind of blue. But
Yeah.
everything was like manicured, the islands between the roads, everything looked so neat. The buses were all uniform and clean,
Mhm.
and everything just looked like a utopian city. And I love the logistics of the place. But like you mentioned, how you even arrive at the Magic Kingdom, you didn't know that it was basically unfolding like a movie with like preview posters as you go onto the train station. But I like that there's layers, and you learn that theory and that history as you go maybe trip 3 or trip 5, and there's like a
Mhm.
different layer you peel from the onion as you get into the fandom. But the first time you just got goosebumps, you thought, hey, this is awesome. Like
Right.
it smells like popcorn. You didn't like make the connection. This is kind of like the lobby of the movie theater. I'm getting ready to see the feature film here as I go around the corner. But later on, you'll see that, but it's not for the very first time. The first time it's just the experience. And I think that's why we can do Disney podcasts. We can have, all these books and have a fandom to experience it. And it's real rich. And one of the things you mentioned too, before we dive into one other thing I want to ask you about was your wife got to go so many times, but you say at this point, you think maybe you're the bigger Disney fan in the relationship than your wife. And I think that's common. I mean, but how do you guys kind of feed off each other?
Um, so Generally, it'll just kind of be the whole conversation. We'll be talking about whatever, then we'll talk about, oh yeah, our next trip to Disney is going to be like we have one coming up in September. Um, but it turned into like, okay, well, we know we're going this time. We don't want to wait. What are we thinking? Okay, well, we have a 3-day week holiday weekend coming up. Let's just go. Let's go. And we kind of just like feed off of each other's energy that way. We're like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go. Um, it's easy kind of for people like us though. We don't have any children. Um, so just we're big Disney adults and we like to have fun. And when one of us has that inkling to go, we're like, okay, when can we just squeeze one in? Let's go.
And you said you're within, 5-hour drive. So
Yes.
that makes it accessible on, you don't have to like go to Southwest or try to find a flight and all the logistics of that.
Right.
I mean, it's
Right.
down 75, I'd imagine, and you're pretty
Right.
much there.
And what's nice for us is like I'm an early waker anyway because I generally at work by 6 in the morning. So I'll wake up at 4 and I'll take a quick shower and like, okay, honey, everything's packed. Just go ahead and get in the car, go back to sleep. Let's start driving. And by the time we get there, I mean, the traffic starts by the time we hit the turnpike. So it's a nice way to kind of just leave and have a long vacation
I mean, but
or a long weekend rather.
I've spent 5 hours just getting around Atlanta, by the way. Just when
Man,
I
you're not kidding.
yeah, when I used to drive from St. Louis to Walt Disney World, it was 5 hours just, like, seeing the varsity there, by where the torch was in Georgia Tech, like, I was like, "Good
Oh,
lord, I've never seen traffic like Atlanta." I mean,
oh no.
sometimes it was like, 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. I'm like, "What are all these people doing up?"
They're
Like, "Did
still left over.
Atlanta ever go to bed?" Come on. Back in St. Louis, everybody's
That
big.
gridlock is something serious. People who've never experienced it have no idea.
Yeah, now I fly. So just whatever. I just go right over the top of that stuff and it's all good. Okay. One thing I want to talk about because we got a couple of trips I would really dive into. We
Mhm.
had this quick conversation because then this relates to Ricky. And I get where Ricky's coming from, but it kind of kills me in the same way. And you work in the hotel industry with Brian.
Yeah.
And so when Ricky goes to Walt Disney World, I'm going to call her out here. Many, many times when she goes down, now her parents live just north of Walt Disney World. They live in the Villages because they've retired to Florida. And so a lot of times she'll stay with them and, have her trip there. But also many times when she would go down to Walt Disney World, since Brian works for the Hyatt, they would always get free hotels. They would stay at, any Hyatt property around Walt Disney World. They sometimes stay at the Hyatt MCO. Sometimes they would stay at, the other ones, and it was free because Brian, had that opportunity. So I get that. Like, I'm the cheapest guy in the world. I've said that on the show. Everybody knows that about me. It's hard. I have a hard time. I just argued with the cable company yesterday to get my cable bill lowered. Yes, we're that. But
I
the
do that too.
thing is, we got, dude, they give it to you. All you gotta do is call them for 15 minutes. You can save
That's
40
right.
bucks. Um, but when you do that, you are kind of sacrificing that Walt Disney World all inclusive inside the bubble vacation where you don't get that. I'm going back to Pop Century at night on the Skyliner. I'm riding the bus back to All Star Sports, or I'm going
Mhm.
back to Riverside, or I'm going back to French Quarter and having a beignet before bed. Because you're in the hotel industry and you probably get some
Yep.
of those perks. So you were having that discussion. Where do you fall in that?
So generally, if we're doing like a quick weekend, I'll try and find the free rooms. Like if I know in advance, generally we'll go for my birthday, which happens to be in December. So I'll just book kind of a long way out to do a little bit longer weekend, and I'll use my comp nights. But if I'm going for a week, or at least 5 nights, I want to be on Disney property. There's something about being in that bubble of the Disney properties that I personally feel you just don't get at other hotels. Like, yeah, you're excited, you're there, regardless of what hotel you're at. But there's something about checking into a Disney hotel and talking with the cast members because I swear I feel like they have the best customer service hands down. That's why I keep going back. And you get all excited again. They're all smiles, if anything happens, which I'm the most like uncomplaining person, if something happens, but if something does happen, they will do anything within their power to help you. And of course you can get that at the parks, but if something happens at the hotel, they're like, "Let's get that taken care of right away for you." You get the same Disney experience you get at the parks at the hotels. But then, like you just said, being able to take the buses or the Skyliner, or whatever it may be, it just kind of really puts you into that Disney bubble, and your whole vacation feels like it's more taken care of versus just having to drive to the parks and park at the parks and
Mhm.
um,
Yeah,
so on.
the transportation is definitely a part of the Disney experience for me. It
Mhm.
always has been. Even when I used to drive from St. Louis, we'd park the car and we would not get back in it. I know a lot of people rent cars. Pam Forrester, one of our co-hosts here, she always rents a car. Scott, our one of our co-hosts, he always rents a car.
Mhm.
I avoid it. That's just one of the things. Like I live in suburbia, in my real life. So I'm always, when I got to go get something to eat, I drive everywhere. I drive my
Right.
Jeep everywhere. And so vacation to me means, and I know this is kind of backwards for people that live in places like New York City, right? Like getting on a bus is novel to me and I don't mind it. Like if I'm
Yeah.
in Colorado Springs, I can ride a bus to the parks. It does not bother me. Where I guess if you are forced to ride a subway here and there and everywhere and you never, have a car because you don't own one, you're in a big city, it's probably just it's kind of the novelty of what your life doesn't give you. So
Right.
kind of how that's why I think
Well,
it's to be
that's
on.
how I am. I just drove 5 hours to get here, so I'm gonna let somebody else
Yeah,
drive me.
exactly. Right. I mean, it's like, dude, I'm done driving. Like, yeah, Disney, take me away. Like the old Calgon ad, showing my age again. Um, dude, I'm so old. I'm the oldest guy podcasting about Disney for real. I might be older than Lou Mangello. Okay, so a couple of the points I want to hit that you gave me. You mentioned you guys took a trip to Port Orleans Riverside last September, but it says
Yes.
purchasing DVC.
Yes.
So welcome home happened at some point. So tell us about how you bought into DVC, because I mean that is buying into the Disney fandom
Yeah.
at the highest level. So what were your thoughts there and how did it happen?
So when we first got married, we obviously honeymooned to Disney, and we did stay on property, and we just love, again, we love staying on property. It just really makes that vacation experience so much more Disney. And after that first day, we decided, you know what? We knew about DVC, but I'm the first person to say, if you want to look into something like that, really dig deep. Don't just be like, let's go buy it. We love it. Let's do this. I think that's not the best idea. I think you need to come up with a plan. So we started researching about how the points work, researching the cost to of value, because we're all about, okay, like we always go here um, multiple times a year. How will this create value for us? Then we just started saving. We're like, we're going to do it. Let's start saving. And then this will be the sad part of my story. So last year we were planning a family vacation. All of us, my mom, dad, my brother, his wife, his 4 girls, my wife, and I were all going to go on a family vacation. And then my dad had passed away in March. And it took a couple months. We didn't know if we were going to go or not, but my mom was finally like, you know what? Let's go. Your dad would have wanted us to go. So we went. We had a great time. And my mom was like, this place is so cool. She's like, and they have like well, first she said they have a timeshare with Disney or something. I'm like, well, they have a DVC. I said, it's kind of the same, but not really.
Mhm.
Um, she's like, well, do you think they would have openings to go look? I said, "Oh, yeah."
Well, that's
So
one
people
thing.
24/7 almost. They have
Yeah, they'll say you'll get a scoop of ice cream with that too.
right, yeah. So, we went over to the Riviera Resort, which that's the resort my wife and I were looking at, because we fell in love with the idea of it being all in one. There's just one building. You don't have to walk all over creation to get to places. Um, so we went over there and, we met, the guy's name is Garrett Ford, one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life, and I think the biggest thing I like about the Disney Vacation Club itself is this is an absolutely no pressure sale. Um, they almost could care less if you buy it or not. They're going to let you know everything about it. They don't hide anything from you, and then they're not pressuring you. Okay, sign here, or do I need to get my manager? Like, if anybody on the show has ever been through one of those, I did it once. They're like, man, they're going to give us $100 gift card each. Let's do it. Never again. It was not worth the $100 gift card. Um,
I've seen the Good Luck Charlie episode on Disney Channel, so yeah, not doing that.
right, right. So we were actually staying at Port Orleans at the time, and after the guy talked with the family and everything, we just asked him, "Hey, can we connect tomorrow?" We would just want to ask a few more questions. I didn't think we were going to be buying it, to be honest with you. And we went and met with them the next day, talked about what we were looking at, and crunched some numbers, and we decided, hey, let's do it, because I mean we've been saving for a while, and we just put a little over half down, and we ended up getting 200 points for the Riviera Club, and um, it was again like the best experience. You ever have like a big purchase and you kind of have that remorse like the
Every
next day?
time, I remember when I
Oh
bought my
man.
Jeep, like, it's my only new car I've ever bought in my life. I bought one for my wife, and we bought a Trailblazer years ago, and that was the first
Uh-huh.
time. Then I bought myself a Jeep, and, no options. It didn't even have power windows, had nothing. Standard, rims, everything, but man, I had remorse forever, like, I didn't need to buy a new car, should have bought a used one. I was like 45. I'm like, I've had a full-time job for 15 years, and I still everything I buy like that, I get buyer. You don't have to tell me about buyer's remorse, it's every time. I'm a good Midwesterner. We get that stuff.
Well, the next day, my wife looks at me. She's like, "Hey, you feel any remorse?" I said, "Absolutely not." She's like, "Yeah, me either."
That's good.
And I gave it like a week later, and I was asked her the same thing because I still didn't. I'm like, "Do you have any buyer's remorse on this?" She's like, "No." I'm like, "Okay, good. Then we did the right thing
You
because we knew
did.
this is what we're going to be doing."
That's how it should be. That's good.
Yes, yeah, and they had a lot of incentives at the time too, and because we happened to be staying at Port Orleans at the time, I think it's like a pay forward like discount on top of the discounts, and I was like, "Well, yeah, let's let's do it." But of course, I made sure I can mention his name, but he didn't mind at all. I would recommend, if anybody was deciding Garrett Ford, he was seriously the nicest guy I've ever met in my life. And every time we go there, whether we're actually a quick weekend and I'm just staying at Hyatt, or if we're actually staying on property, we always let him know, and he always makes time to meet us and say hello and see how things are going. And he's so personal too. Like when we had tornadoes come through here in January, he called me to see if we were okay
That's
because
cool.
he knew we lived in this area. So he's extremely personable.
That's going above and beyond. That's super
Yeah,
cool to hear, because that's something you wouldn't expect. Okay, so
right.
now I want to dive into the Riv, because that's why I call it the Riv.
Yeah.
And my daughter always wants to stay there because she's
Oh
15 and
man,
thinks I'm made of money because I'm not DVC. Uh, she kills me. She
it's so expensive.
Yes, it is, but she doesn't care. She's 15. She doesn't care. She thinks,
Yeah.
when she turns 16, she's getting a four-door Jeep. Like I just told you, I couldn't believe when I bought myself a two-door Wrangler with no options. Like 2012. Like she thinks she's getting a new. She's not. Are you kidding me? I had a $500 MGB when I was 16 that hardly ran, that my grandpa and I worked on for 5 years to get running in the garage when I was 10. Anyway, maybe you'll get something like that. Okay, so let's talk about this. So you bought into the Riv. It looks like your first day there was in May. By the way, I
Yes.
love Primo Piatto, the
Oh man,
Madame Croque, that sandwich. Oh
I
my
get that every time. It is so. My wife gets the burger and I get the croque madame because it just tastes so stinking good.
I'd have one of those every day of my life if I wouldn't be dead within 3 days.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Those things are so good.
That's like
Okay,
the best part about Disney, though. You give yourself like a chance to eat things that you just don't on the regular. So
yes.
yeah, that's happens to be one of those sandwiches.
Oh, yes, that's one of my top 3 things at Walt Disney World. Okay,
Yes.
yeah, we're on the same wavelength here. Okay, but let me ask you about this. So you go there the first time, you get your
Yep.
welcome home. I mean, again, you mentioned Goosebumps first time going to Magic Kingdom. I'd imagine this was kind of a landmark arrival as well, right?
It yeah, oh man, it felt unreal. Even as we were pulling up there, it felt so unreal. I was like, "Oh my gosh, are we really about to stay here right now?" Even to the point of when we got in the room, I'm like, "Are we really staying here right now?" It literally took a minute, like, just to kinda sink in. This is what we've paid for. This is what, our dream was as a family for our vacations going forward. Um, it was so surreal. But yeah, the from the check-in experience, the guy, uh, the bell guy was like, "Hey, do you need help bringing luggage to your room?" I'm like, "Oh, you do that here?" I had no idea.
That's
And
nice.
I'm like, "This is the reason I always bring cash to Disney so I could tip everybody."
Good tip. Mhm.
um, but yeah, and just from that experience alone, I'm like, no way, I don't even have to carry my stuff to my room. This is great. But we did stay. I was apprehensive about the stay. We stayed in the tower suite.
And
One,
I wanted to ask you about that because that's
yeah.
such a unique room.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, there's nothing else like that on property at any other
No.
hotel because it only sleeps 2, right? I mean,
Right.
it's so what did you think of that? Because I mean,
Okay.
you could that's where you could obviously maximize your points. That's probably your reason of
Yes.
staying in that. But I mean, I'm also super curious about it because to me, it almost seems like I'm kind of curious about like what it'd be like to spend a weekend like in a tiny home or something, you know, just because it like because of like efficiencies. And
Well,
it's kind of like an inside stateroom on a cruise
right.
ship or something.
Right. Right. And that's what I was thinking. So I like to be a little more reserved too. And my wife was so gung ho about this room. I'm like, "Are you sure you don't want just a normal studio at least? Something?" She's like, "No, I want to stay in this room." Which it really points wise, I think it was 83 points for a Saturday to Saturday. So it was really economical. Um, and the reason, and well, I guess one nice thing I should say, so since we bought our points in September, they were running a special that roll it to basically like you bought them in March. So we were able to just go ahead and roll them over because we knew we weren't going to be staying on Disney property. So we started our first year with 400 points,
Right.
and we literally our first stay was 7 nights. Our next day stay is 8 nights, and it's only like 201 points. So we're rolling over another 199. So it's kind of cool how that works. Um, but when we got in the room, uh, I was a little skeptical. I'm like, man, we're gonna have clothes all over the place. This place is so tiny. But what was so cool is, and let me tell you how gung ho my wife was. She was so excited about this first trip and the first welcome home. I was really excited, but she wanted pictures galore. I am not kidding when I tell you we probably each had 18 to 19 outfits for a 7 night stay.
Oh man.
Yeah, because she wanted pictures. There is so much storage in that room. I did not have Sorry, I hear my dog.
That's what I was
Um,
going to.
there was so much storage in that room that we did not have one piece of clothing you could see. All the shoes were put up. Um, I was actually kind of floored because I'm the type of person when I travel, I want to pull everything out of my suitcase. I don't want to live in it. So I put everything up. I put all her clothes up, all my clothes up, all our shoes up. Nothing was left in our luggage, and there was nothing on the floors, nothing to be seen. I was actually brilliantly surprised how much storage they're able to pack into that little room.
That's good. That's good to hear. And I think they've really learned a lot from cruise line. They've kind of gone back and
Yeah,
forth. I think they, took a lot from cruise line, moved it over to the resorts, then kind of took that at the few resorts and pushed it back out to the cruise ships. They go back and forth, but that I mean, because they have spaces that are premium on the ships and in those tower studios. So I
absolutely.
think that's going to be great advice for folks that are considering those because there's not a lot of those rooms. But if
No,
you can get them, either because remember, I didn't know this for years and years. We're talking DVC here, but you can still book, even if you're not DVC, you can book these tower studios using cash. I mean, you can book any DVC room cash.
right.
DVC people just get a little head start on them sometimes with the bookings. But I used to think, oh, I will, Old Key West only DVC people. No, that's my favorite place to stay. I love that place.
Yeah.
You can book there at cash, Riviera or whatever. So just heads up for everybody. I just want to make sure we get because there's a lot I want to talk about. So you had a good view of the fireworks you put in the notes over at the Rib too.
Yes, yes, we did. So, um, literally from the balcony, um, our first night there, we got done eating dinner and we went to the balcony and we are just looking out thinking, oh, it's so pretty. Didn't even look at the time. And all of a sudden we saw a firework shoot. I'm like, oh, shoot, what time is it? And we watched the whole show from over at Epcot just from our balcony view. And it was just that added to the experience of being able to check in on day one, uh, to just being so excited about what we have done and what we have purchased. But yeah, the balcony view with the fireworks was great.
And you also mentioned, some of the other amenities of the Riviera, like being on the Skyliner, the two awesome pools that
Yes.
you have there, Bar Riva. So, you guys really took advantage of those amenities because, again, deluxe hotel and just I mean, you are in just a prime location there. I mean, just parked right there in the middle of the action.
Right, and that's one thing that was super nice was you got straight into Epcot in the morning through the Skyliner, and the nice thing about the park opening a half hour early is you're right there at Remy's Ratatouille, so you
Mhm.
don't have to deal with the long lines for that ride. You can just hop on, get over, "Oh, we're in a half hour early, no rush." We'll just walk over to that ride and you're on within 5 minutes, which is
Yeah, no kidding.
incredible.
Because the Skyliner is so efficient and,
Yeah,
right there, you're walking right out the riv, boom, and we got the croque madame right there to get your, day start, get your protein and
that's
rock
right.
on. Okay, another thing I wanna ask you about, which we have another, DVCer here in the chat, it looks like, giving some props to the Riviera, Scott
Yes.
Gardner, the host of the show. You got and he came in right at the right time because I want to ask you about the Moonlight Magic event, which is one of those DVC nighttime
Yes.
events. This dude that's Scott loves these things. When he goes
Oh,
to
yeah.
them, he FaceTimes me every time, like, look at how many Mickey bars I have. Like, dude, it's like midnight. Go easy. I want you to make it because I mean he's having a good time. There's like I bet on Space Mountain, 5 times. I'm like, you are
Yes.
killing it. But what were your thoughts on Moonlight Magic? Because I love the DVC members get these parties.
Oh, man. So we got lucky that it just happened to be the week that it was our first welcome home, and it was yeah, it was incredible. All the I love the Mickey bars. I don't know why everyone says they're overrated. I don't even care. They taste better because you're there,
Yeah,
okay?
got that right.
Um, but the snack credits were kind of a cool thing too. We went to Docking Bay 7, and that dessert that they have there was you could use as a snack credit. I was like, "Oh, yes, this is definitely what I'm getting." Lauren goes, "You like that thing?" She does not like chocolate like I do. If there's like one thing sweets wise I love is chocolate.
Yeah, same.
So I really enjoy that dessert. Uh, and she wanted to wait in line to try and get one of the lunchbox tarts. There, I think it's a Woody's
Yep.
lunchbox, right? Yeah, that line never went down, so we just had to pass that up. I'm like, let's use it on something else. But the wait times were amazing. Meeting the characters were so much fun because you get to see characters that are more rare, that you don't get to see all the time, um, and they're dressed different too. Some of them, like we got to see Daisy, and she had like this beautiful, almost looked like Belle, and then Donald had his little top hat and coat. But the interactions I feel are so much better than during the daytime because you have a little bit extra time. It's not kind of a push. All right, we need to get the next people in. We need to get the next people in. Um, I thought that was one of the coolest things there. Uh, and that's actually, for some reason, that night was the first time I ever saw Phantasmic as well. My Lauren's like, "Oh, you got to watch this show because she's seen it. I've never seen it before." And that just added to the spectacular ness, if that's a word, of that night. And it just felt cool to feel like you were like number one, even though all those other people were there. You kind of felt personal, like you are number one, um, and we're throwing this for you.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, it's one of those things where when you're at Walt Disney World, there's so many times during the day, you go to the parks and you feel like you're one of a million, just during a regular day at the studios or at Epcot or what have you, Typhoon Lagoon. But when you go to a Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party or Christmas party or like Moonlight Magic or what have you, one of these hard ticket events, it kind of feels a little VIP, right? It's a
Yep.
smaller crowd, plus it's at night, and I will always stand by this. All the parks are better at night. One, it's not so
Yep.
hot. The lights are on. The lights give, especially at the studios. The studios is gorgeous at night, and I think it just feels better. And first view of Phantasmic, I love that show.
Oh man.
Did it blow you away? Did you like it?
Oh yeah, it was incredible. For all these years I've gone, I'm like, this thing's been here the whole time.
A lot of
I
work.
had no idea.
That stadium, you would swear you've walked like, off property. Like by the time you get there, like,
Right.
man, where are they marching us to? Because we
Well,
went through that for the races, like, man, this thing is not in the park.
right, right. So I've been on boat came to come over to Hollywood Studios. I didn't even see that. It's so well hidden.
It
I
is.
was like, "Where in the world? Where? How do you not see this anywhere?" Yeah,
And it's big because
it's
a
huge.
lot of people. Yeah, it's like it's not like a little 500 seater or something that holds thousands. Anyway,
Right.
so
I think the only thing they could do better with that area is just the flow of getting people out, because that
oh,
was
amen. Oh my gosh, hang on. I give you ding on that one. That is that, and they need to ban the wave.
yes, yes.
It's not 1989. It's not the Cardinals playoff game. Let's go. Come on. We don't need the wave. Okay. A couple of things I want to ask you about. So you also got to go to during this trip, you got to do speaking of exclusive events, was one of the newer things that have been added over the last like 18 months, those evening hours that are exclusive to deluxe resort guests. You did that at the Magic Kingdom. So did
Yes.
you feel kind of the same way when you went over there, minus you had to pay for your own Mickey bars there? It's kind of a
Right, you
shame.
have to pay for your own Mickey bars.
So how was that?
So that was also incredible. So my wife, what was kind of cool about that is, with Tron being so new, they have the 2 open times during the day to try and get on it. Well, if you were at that event, they opened a 3rd spot to get on it. So we were able to ride that at night. Man, that was so incredible. And Brian and I actually spoke about that ride. I know it has a lot of flack. A lot of people say it's too short, but that thing is so fast, I can understand why it's short. Like, it seems long. Like, if you look around inside while you're on it, there's a lot of track in there, but it's moving so quick. I think that's just the thing. It's gonna feel short because you're moving so fast, and before you know, it's over. But I thought it was incredible.
I
The launch was amazing, and the seating position. I'm a bigger guy. I know a lot of people have complained about the seats, but I was so comfortable on it. I didn't feel the bars behind my knees, and I'm 6'2" and a half, so I'm pretty tall as well. And I enjoyed it. I can't wait to go back and get on it again.
Yeah, I feel it is short. It's on the shorter side, but I mean, again, I cannot do Guardians because I get motion sickness. I can't do
Okay.
Flight of Passage. So I get where everybody says it's too short. I understand, but it's the perfect length for this old dude. Like,
Oh,
dude,
yeah.
like I don't need it to be another 2 minutes because that would put me over the edge. So
So, I'm not the biggest roller coaster person. It's funny you say that, but I actually do like Guardians. Why? I have no idea. I just
oh,
ended up liking it.
but I
But
think
my
everybody,
wife
it's an awesome attraction. Like it's got it
right.
all. It's just it's got too much for this dude. Like, but I get it. It's a great attraction. Yeah.
Well, what's funny about my wife is because 'cause I'll psych myself out from doing something, and listening to everybody scream as the thing launches, I'm like, "They give you plenty of time to, listen to that." And, she's like, "Just think, if you like it, cool. If not, it's only like 67 seconds, no big deal." I'm
Yeah.
like,
No.
"Well, there's one way to look at it."
No, because I went down when they opened it for the social media event. We could ride it as much as we wanted for 6 hours. I rode it one time and I said, "No, I'm good." It's like you can ride this for the night, till 6 o'clock tonight. There's like,
Uh-huh.
12:03. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm just gonna go ride El Rio del Tiempo or something." Or soaring. I'm fine. So yeah, I did it once, did the video, whatever I was supposed
Mhm.
to do. And then so we went back a few weeks ago with our family. Scott's family, my family were there, and I'm like, okay, I'll ride it with my wife and my 2 girls. They wanted to ride it. And Scott's like, dude, you'll be fine. You psyched yourself out last time. It was all in your head. I was like, okay, fine, we'll ride it together. Yeah, I'm telling you what, that thing shot off backwards within like a tenth of a second. The one way or another song was playing. Tenth of a second, I'm like, nope, this was not in my head. I'm about to puke again. What did I do? So I'm just like, how long is this song? And this song, and I'm thinking, no, this is like the extended mix. Like this is the longest
Yeah.
5 minutes of my life. Because I'm always everybody's like, Tron's too short, but Guardians is the right length. It's longer. So the whole time in my head, I'm thinking, everybody says, oh, Guardians is longer. I'm like, why can't this be the shorter ride that everybody complains
Right.
about? I just want to be off this thing right now. As we're going through that corkscrew 9,000 times. We're like, please let
Right.
me up. Yeah, but I
It
get
took
it.
me getting on that ride 4 times to finally get a picture with my eyes open, because every time it launches backwards, I shut my eyes, so I'm like, "Oh, here we go."
I just look down. I'm just like, I can't. It got me again. I just knew immediately. I was like, it got me. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was that. Yeah, you also went to Typhoon Lagoon. It says here in the notes. I meant to
Yes.
go there because we were there a couple weeks ago, and I was going to go to one of the night things over at Typhoon Lagoon, but we just didn't make it. So, what'd you think
Yes.
about going over Typhoon Lagoon?
Um, I'll say that in 1 second. One thing I wanna add to the extended
Oh,
hours that my wife was able to get was, Seven Dwarfs, which we've ridden so many times, but she got it at the time when the fireworks went off. And
nice.
literally right when we came out of the first tunnel, right when it goes, the first firework went off, and that was the coolest experience. Like, if you can try and time it to the show, if you don't wanna watch the fireworks, try and time getting on that ride, if you're using a fast pass to when the fireworks go, because that was the most incredible ride I've ever been on. Like, I don't even remember the ride itself, I just kept looking up the entire time. It was so cool.
That's just luck, though. I mean, there's
Yeah, it was luck.
time that because there's too many variables. But
Yeah.
you got it though. That's
Yeah,
because
we got it.
it happened to me one time on Splash Mountain. I was coming over
Oh, wow.
the big drop and like
Uh-huh.
fireworks over the castle. I was like, "This is awesome!"
Right.
I mean, it was really cool
Yes.
for that like 1 second. I was like, "That was unreal." Yeah,
But Typhoon Lagoon, yeah, that was our first time as there as well. Z Wow. I don't understand how, those water parks aren't used more. I know a lot of people think they're small compared to the rest of the stuff that's around Orlando, but still very Disney. From the theming was incredible. The food was actually pretty good too. And but that, I think for me though, was that wave pool. We went on a lot of rides there and had a great time, but I could have stayed in that wave pool all day. I had no idea it was going to be that big. I mean, absolutely massive. We're standing there. I'm thinking, how big can it be? And when you hear it, it just sounds like something drops, I guess, because I have no idea how
the
those
wave,
mechanics
that
work.
wave is a killer
Yeah.
wave. I mean, I've because we used to go there when I was younger. Lost 2 pair of sunglasses to that, and I almost lost my oldest daughter to that wave one time.
Oh,
Like a
no.
blast, I couldn't find her. That wave is no joke. I don't know if
Oh,
they
yeah.
tightened it down a little bit, but man, that thing used to just blast people. And I'm a
I don't
big
I don't
dude.
know if
I
it's
used to get
taken down.
rocked.
It's huge. It is huge. Because when I saw it for the first time, I'm like, "There's no way this thing is this big."
You just hear. I just remember back in the day, you'd hear whoosh, and then you just hear everybody ah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Oh, but I had the best, but I swear it felt like it beat you up so much.
Yes,
Like,
it
you stay
did.
in there for 5 to 10 minutes, you're like, "Okay, let's go take a nap on the lazy river."
Go get some donut holes.
Yes, yes. Oh, yeah, we tried those. I had no idea that was a thing too, and my wife's really into finding out if we're gonna do something, what's it known for, and she's like, "Oh, we gotta try the
Oh
donuts."
yeah. Oh yeah. That's why you go there.
Yeah, they were good, very good.
That's awesome. All right, a couple other things because we're running a little short on time. I'll make sure we get this in. A couple dining places that you
Yes.
went to that are really. We got to talk about these because people might want to go here soon. You guys went to Cape May over at Beach Club. What'd you think of that?
Oh, I thought it was fantastic. It was our first time going there. The buffet was great. All the seafood was extremely fresh, and I love seafood. I opted not to try the crab legs this time. I know it is a upcharged option, and I like crab legs, but probably next time I'll get them. But this time there was just so much to try. I'm like, let's go through it for the first time and try everything
Yeah.
that's on the actual buffet now.
Well, you're DVC, right? You're going to be coming
Right,
back for 30 years. You got to have something new next time. That's
you
smart.
got that right. But what they had in general, just on their normal buffet, I felt like it was more than enough. I was just surprised to see how much different seafood they had and how much they freshly steam right in front of you. I think that was one of the coolest parts too. I'm like, ooh, fresh mussels, cool. He just did them right now. I want to eat some. No, my wife tends to she'll eat all the shrimp you can eat, but mussels and clams, oysters, absolutely not.
My wife won't even walk past Cape May Cafe. That's how much she hates. My whole family hates seafood except for me.
Oh,
When we go to when we go over anywhere over like Stormalong Bay, it's like they just can't even hardly walk past that place. I'm like, oh, we should go there someday. I'm like, they have other stuff besides seafood. Like they can't get past the smell. So
oh, I
I'm out
love
of
it.
luck. I know you're lucky. I had a really good breakfast there during COVID. It was super cheap and oh, but now it's gone back up. Anyway, okay, another place you guys went. Storybook dining over at Wilderness Lodge, Artist Point.
Yes,
We
that was
rarely talk about this, but when we do, everybody raves about it. So
yes,
did it live up to the hype for you guys too?
it did. I felt like it took forever to try and get reservations
It
there.
is.
I literally booked it as soon as I saw finally an opening, it just randomly popped up. I didn't even call her to be like, "Do you want it?" I just hit it. I'm like, "Yes, yes," because if I wait maybe 5 minutes, it might not be there anymore. But yes, that lived up to the hype. That the meal itself was incredible. Um, the way they bring your little appetizers first, they're all kind of included with your entree, and then you get all the desserts included. I really like the layout for it. But being able to meet like Grumpy and Dopey and Snow White, I swear my wife was about to be in tears with Dopey. She thinks he's just the cutest thing on the face of the planet. And then she was going to be in tears from Grumpy by laughing because he just walks up with his big grumpy face. And I thought it was hysterical. And then meeting the Queen was funny. I wish I could remember what Lauren asked her, but I do remember her question was like, "What an awfully dumb thing to ask the Queen." And I was like, "Why'd you ask her that?" I wish I could remember that. I tried remembering before the show, and I just cannot think of it.
It'll come to you like
It,
right
it-
after we're done. It
yeah,
happens to
right when
me
we're done.
every show. I'm like, I should have said that, but too late. Edited, uploaded, we're done.
Right. Yeah, but we had the meal, the service was great, the theming was beautiful, and we were there at night too, so you really got to see the lights that they string in the trees and how they change. Whether if it's the evil queen, it's a different color. If it's Dopey, it's a different color, and Snow White and Grumpy. Um, Super cool theming. I can't wait to go back. Actually, we that's a definite plan to go to again.
It's one of the few places I still have not gone to. I need to make that happen. It's because I go down for races and marathon weekend. I'd love to go there because I run the Dopey Challenge every year. But all the
Mhm.
Dopey runners go there to get their picture with Dopey with their medals, and so it's like you think it's hard to get any
Oh
other
yeah,
time
I can
of year. It's
imagine.
impossible to get over marathon weekend. It's like because runners are like obsessive about 80 hours, and I'm not so much. And so yeah, I
Yeah.
was on those. Okay, final place, Rose and Crown. I
Yes.
found because I'm not a real, I will eat a lot of stuff, but I don't like seek out, like, I'm not a foodie, but if you
Uh-huh.
bring it to me, I'll try it. I went on a tour one time in Epcot. It was called Undiscovered World Showcase,
Hmm.
and we had lunch there, and they gave us the Scotch egg. Like we ate in
Yes.
there, and they gave us that Scotch egg thing. Oh, that thing was
Yes.
so good. I had no idea what one was, but they, hey, throw it in front of me, and I was starving, so I was like, "Bring it on, man!" I think it was rock. I don't know if you had a Scotch egg there, but
Yes.
I love that like pub feel. That place, the dark woods. I want to get back. I've only eaten there once, and one time we did a fireworks package on the patio, which was fun. But
Mhm.
I'm a fan of that place. What about you?
Oh, yeah, it was fantastic. So I got the bangers and mash, my wife got the shepherd's pie, which it's like a trough of food. They gave her so much food. Um, I'm like, "How are we gonna go?" Actually, we ended up going back to the hotel early that night because it's such a heavy meal.
Oh yeah,
Again, these are the meals that you go to Disney for. You don't do it in everyday life
that's true.
because you you just have a heart attack. But yeah, Scotch egg, that's what an idea. Here's a boiled egg. Let's wrap it in sausage, bread it, and deep fry it. Serve it with some stone ground mustard. What an amazing thing!
Yeah, thank you, our
Um,
friends across the pond.
right. But one thing we didn't obviously know about that place is a piano player came in and started playing Disney tunes and just having a great time. And when we left to kind of cap it off, and I was again talking to Brian about this, I had no idea that there was live music in the UK. And I heard a band. I'm like, where the heck is that music coming from? And it was that little
That little gazebo back there in the corner,
gazebo.
right?
That's what it's
Yeah.
called. Yeah, that little gazebo. So we go back there and we hung out for like until they were done. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. It was a little rock band playing some of the famous rock music from the UK. They had the Who and obviously the Beatles, and I was like beyond excited. I had no idea they had music, and I love the classic rock bands like that. So I had the best time to a great meal, being able to go out and listen to UK music. I thought it was incredible.
And you know what? That saves a night in Epcot, especially when you have like because there's so many places in Epcot where you can have like a heavy meal. Like I've gone to Beer Garden and
Oh yeah,
that's a buffet of like meats. And then
yes,
but on top of the meats, they have really good desserts. So then
yes,
like you have all these like sausages and then like potatoes and stuff, and then like you just pile on brownies and stuff. So you're just like you don't even want to walk out of the place. You're so full.
right.
But the way you can save it is you really don't want to go ride Test Track But
No.
you're going and watching live entertainment throughout World Showcase. That is a way to save the night. Like you said, listen to live music in the UK, maybe see the juggler in Italy if he's still around.
Yeah.
Like that. That is one of those things. And now that you're DVC, you go back. I think, and our fans tend to go multiple times a year. A lot of folks listen to our show, lucky enough to get to do that. I think that we've discovered that it's not so much about that, 73rd ride on Soarin' at this point. It's about sitting on a bench with, a Coke Zero or your favorite drink or what have you, and just enjoying the environment, listening to a background loop, watching, live shows and just taking in the environment. I think, that's kind of what you're pointing out. You can have a good meal, live entertainment, and, call it a night. That's a good night.
And that's why Epcot, and I'll throw it out there right now, Epcot's been my favorite part for a while because of that. You can have a cool meal from a different country and you can relax. You're not rushing to try and get to that next ride. You can go into different stores, again, watch entertainers. That juggler in Italy's, I love him.
Yeah, the whistle.
Yep. My wife saw him for the first time actually on our last trip. She had never seen him before. I'm like, oh, you got to watch this guy. He's amazing. But yeah, I love Epcot. That'll probably forever be my favorite park because again, I'm in food and beverage. So what a better park for someone like me.
Absolutely. Well, Philip, we're just about out of time, but I just want to thank you for taking the time to come on our show and start the week. This is a great way to kick it off. Virtual trip to Walt Disney World, and hope you're not a stranger. Hope we can do this again because you'll be down there quite a bit, and maybe we'll cross paths at Epcot or even better over at Primo Piatto sometime. We'll have to.
Oh, absolutely. You don't have to talk me into that one.
No, I'll see you there. Right. Thanks again for coming on the show. Great to meet you today.
And great to meet you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Don't forget our podcast are always brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. We're standing by this week to help you plan a magical Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, or Adventures by Disney vacation. To swing by the site over at themagicforless.com. While you're there, fill out that free no obligation quote form. We'll take care of you from there. Always get you the best deal possible. And here's the best part. Absolutely no cost to you. So check them out today over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link when you shop online. That one extra click supports everything we do throughout the year. It's beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And a huge thank you to our patrons. You guys support all these shows. We put out 3, 4, sometimes even 5 shows a week. And we can only do that with your support. So thanks to everybody who supports us over there. You can support us starting at just $5 a month for all these shows. And you'll get a bonus show every week called Mike in the Midwest. So come on over, join us, patreon.com/beourguestpodcast. Give me a follow on the social media. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Threads at beourguestmike. Would love to talk to you this week. And finally, join us on Sunday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. We'll have the live show, the BOGP open line, where you can call in, be a part of the show, talk about the Disney news of the week, share a mini trip report. Just, what's on your mind. We open up the phone lines and turn the show over to you. So join us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch on Sunday night at 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. We'll be waiting to take your calls. Scott joins me for that show as well. One final request, if you don't mind, subscribe to the show wherever you get our podcast, whether it's Apple Podcasts, on your favorite podcatcher, whether it's Google Podcasts. Stitcher's gone away. It went away this week. I can't believe that. That's how long we've been around. Wherever you listen to the show, give us a rating and a review. We'd really appreciate that as well. That helps other people find our show. So please do that if you can this week. All right, we're going to jump out of here and wish you a great Monday. We'll be back again on Wednesday with more of your listener questions. So for Philip down in Atlanta, I'm Mike here in Missouri. You guys have a great week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon. Good stuff. Thank you so much. That's a good show.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
All righty.
I don't know if Brian told you real quick before we get going. Did he tell you my brother-in-law also does a Disney podcast?
Which one?
It's called A Spoonful of Podcast. So I've been on there a couple times too.
I know. What's his name?
Brian Galloway or Evan Dickens?
Evan. I want to say I've talked to one of them because I have some kind of connection to, I think, Evan.
Okay. Yeah, he's my brother-in-law.
Okay. Is one of them from St. Louis?
No. One's from New Jersey and one's been from Atlanta his entire life. Well, Atlanta area.
I have some kind of connection because I remember talking to him on Twitter for that show. Huh.
Yeah, that's a big possibility for him.
I wonder what it is. Huh. Now, see, I'll be thinking about that all night because I see it on my Twitter feed all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they've been going at it for a long time. Like every week.
Yeah, they're about to do their 150th episode next month.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so I'll be part of that. Yeah, they're newer, but yeah, they keep going once a week.
It's a grind, man. We're at 23 something. It's bizarre. We do too many shows, but I don't know what else I'd do.
Well, it's fun. You know, if it's something that you love, it's fun. It's not even.
This is my toy. Like this is, when you get older, I don't drink really. I don't do much. I used to play a lot of sports. This is it now. So it's just fun to meet people and talk. So I don't get to work on the radio. This is the closest I ever got. So
that's right.
All right. Tell Brian I said hello when you see him.
I will. Pleasure to meet you too.
All right,
Have a wonderful evening.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.